So I'm out here in this massive thicket in Georgia on the South Carolina line, trying to find my ancestors. We've spoken with the gentleman across the road and he's kind of told us where it is, but once we get up here next to the food plot, it's so thick, I don't think we're going to be able to get to it, which means I'm going to have to come back probably in the winter. So at least we have found it. Found kind of the spot. Let's see what we find. So hey guys, happy Saturday. Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to Appalachia's Homestead. I hope you are having a fantastic weekend. Thought I would update you, say howdy, and talk about something that I think is important right now because we're all trying to manage our budgets. We're all trying to do what works best for our homes and our farms and our families. So I think I'm going to be making some changes soon on my farm. Let's talk about it. So first and foremost, I want to say we went to Georgia yesterday. The devil went down to Georgia. She was looking for a soul to steal. James and I took off yesterday afternoon. We're coming up on our 25th wedding anniversary this week. So we're trying to, we're not going to Hawaii. We're not doing anything elaborate. We're pretty much home. But anytime we can take a couple of hours and do something together that we love to do, then we're going to do it this week. So take a little time off, and the weather is beautiful here in East Tennessee. It's a little bit warm. But we went down through Murphy, North Carolina, went through Blairsville into Georgia, and went down to Madison County. I did a bunch of genealogy. I have a long-lost grandmother. She's not really long-lost, but I was looking for a specific cemetery down there, and some locals were helping me, and we've located the cemetery. But I just want to tell you guys, thank you so much, you folks down there in basically Northeast Georgia. It is such a, guys, if you have ever been to our region, I was telling James, a lot of people come to East Tennessee and the Smokies, but you really should take a drive through like Northeast Georgia, kind of cupping over to South Carolina. It is beautiful. The farmland is beautiful, and it's so nice. I love making a drive, especially when it's not that long, where you can literally watch the landscape like change, like you are in the heart of the mountains, and then it starts changing and you start seeing a lot of pine trees, and it starts getting really flat. It's just beautiful. So we had a great day yesterday, met some really nice folks, and I'm just so happy to be finding more information that I am on our particular line that I am working on, of course. So I just want to mention that I have some great quick little pictures and stuff. I'll attach them here. So I've been thinking about this subject, though, for the past couple of days. And, if you've watched our videos here literally over 8 years on YouTube, you know that I have had quail for many years. I love quail. I think quail are a lot of fun. And I've made several videos about raising quail. Just go in the search. I may attach one or two here. They're probably a little bit older, about taking care of quail, what type of quail that I've raised. Just it's going to answer a lot of questions that you have. But there is one or two particular times that I have mentioned in the past that I'm going to tell you right now. In my case, now listen, you do what works best for you and your farm. So don't let what I'm going to say upset you, because there's always that one person right now that always looks to try to be offended about something. So I'm not telling you not to raise quail, but I am telling you some serious pros and cons. And I hate to tell you, if you're comparing raising quail, depending on your circumstances and your setting, quail here is pretty much nothing more than a hobby. And I'm going to tell you the reasons why. this is a moment for me to make decisions about our farm, our budget, and to help you try to come up with some reasons of why you should maybe reconsider certain things on your farm. If raising quail or anything for that matter is what works for you and your farm and your family and whatever, then do it. But I'm kind of to the point where I at a minimum, I may have to take a break. So we are in the middle of major cleanup right now, weed eating and mowing. So if you hear that, that's why I'm kind of in the car. Everything is loud right now because we're cleaning the house, cleaning the farm, cleaning up, trying to just, knock things down in terms of grass and everything before we get more rain come in, because the weather is so good right now. Like I said, when we were traveling through Georgia yesterday, I have never seen, I wish I had filmed more of it. I have never seen so much hay being baled in my life. The whole trip, really, all the farms, because the weather right now is working out so great right now. So everybody's trying to get their hay up, cut, baled up, So we're trying to do some things too. But anyway, so I've been thinking about this for a couple of days. So here's where I'm thinking about cutting back, but yet I am going to I'm thinking about adding some additions. So you hear my probably, I might, maybe, sort of thinking sort of thing. That's a woman's way of reserving her right to change her mind, because we know we're going to somehow, some way anyway. So, but I've been raising quail for at least 6 to 7 years. I really enjoy them. It's not difficult. If you have a small, more urban setting, or maybe you have small children and you want to get into raising something, quail is a good thing to have. Now, I am down to I think I only have now about like 17 quail. So, it's not like I have this huge ordeal. Now, some people have these big ordeals and they're great in terms of quick turnover for meat. It's not a lot of meat, but you do get meat. Here is what I'm finding though. I'm just going to go through my points, okay? So just take it for what it's worth. If you don't agree or if you don't care or whatever, then that's that. My quail feed right now is the most expensive thing that I have. Now, granted, because my numbers have dwindled in my quail as far as how many I have, and that's been on purpose, it's not a huge cost. But here's the thing, I'm not really getting a lot of eggs right now. Now, they'll pick back up and I'll get some, and I enjoy eating them. But again, quail eggs are so minuscule. I mean, it literally takes like 3 quail eggs to equal 1 medium to large chicken egg, okay? So there's that. Quail food, which is your game bird feed, 28% protein, is the most expensive stuff that I can buy. I don't go through a ton of it, but still. When you incubate your quail eggs, because let me explain something to you. The quail that I have, I've only seen one girl out of all of these years go broody one time, and it was a guesstimate by her behavior and what she was doing. It only lasted like 3 days. I was really hopeful because I'd never seen it before. She was like, nah, I changed my mind. She reserved the right to change her mind. So quail don't typically, the quail that I have do not tend to go broody. So that leaves you with having to continue to incubate eggs and to reproduce these animals, these birds. So there's that. I'm kind of under the whole idea of, if I'm going to be feeding it, most things that I want to be feeding, I either am going to super love eating a product of theirs, and I'm going to get plenty of it. They can regenerate themselves quite well, or they are highly coveted, meaning other people would want them. There's a lot of variables like that. When I have taken my quail over the years and I've incubated them, and I've got multiple videos on this, okay, and you'll see, they tend to be the most difficult to hatch. Hatching, not so much. As far as a problem, I usually get at least a 50+% rate as far as hatching, but the survival rate after that is only about half. Here's how it's always worked for me. If I put in 20 or 30 quail eggs into an incubator, I always want to have the goal of, say, by the time we get 8 weeks later, I'm always kind of hoping I have at least 10. because I have come to the conclusion that they are so small and they are so sensitive that you really do have to work with them a lot just to get a low number. Now, for some of you out there that hatch like hundreds at a time, maybe you don't care because you're going to be hatching so many, so often that you're going to get a lot of birds. That's not the case for me. I don't have a setup that big, and I don't want a setup that big because I hate to tell everybody this. I don't like quail meat. I just am not a fan. I'm not a picky eater, okay? If I'm hungry and if you put a quail in front of me, I'm gonna gnaw on it, baby. But if I'm gonna go through the process of having to feed it, raise it, pay for the food to raise it, and then I'm going to have to basically cull it, if you will, butcher it, if you will, even though they're so much smaller, that's a kind of a well, for me, that's sort of an emotional and spiritual process. If I'm going to go through that, I don't want to have to go through the same moment like that 3, 4, 6 times to feed my family when I can go through it one time with a rooster. Does that make sense? I know that's a tough subject, but that's how I feel about it. You may not feel that way. Okay. But that's how I feel about it. So basically what you're looking at this point, I have kept my quail as, because, well, they're my responsibility. I am getting a few eggs here or there. They're hanging out. They are getting older. They're actually getting older. Most of my quail live several years. So, a death rate in terms of once they reach about 8 weeks, they may hang around for 5 years. I'm not kidding. I'm a retirement home for quail. So I'm pretty much to the conclusion right now. I'm not going to say that I'm never going to raise quail again. And, if something happens at some point and I decide to go crazy and incubate some, well, then okay. But right now it's not looking like it. I'm pretty much taking care of them, letting them hang out. I feed them. But I think I'm going to end it for a while. I mean, once these pretty much go, I think I'm done. I just think that putting my time more into my turkey. I really enjoy raising my silkies. Obviously, silkies are one of my favorite things to raise because they go broody. See, I really enjoy having birds, whether it's turkey or a breed of chicken that typically, most likely, are going to help me regenerate. Quail is just not on that right now. And like James said, he was like, the mortality rate is so high, the feed is high, the eggs are so small. You have to do the math. So do what works best for you. Some people feel this way about rabbits. Some people feel this way about goats. It just depends upon what works for you. And like I said, they work really well for very small, more urban, small homestead type situations. But be warned that even though you have them, don't consider this some type of long-term survival food because it's just not going to work out that way. And people have asked me, they're like, what are you going to do with your quail if SHTF happens? I said, well, I would keep them and feed them for as long as I could. I would eat the eggs for as long as I could. And then at the point in which I couldn't do these things anymore, or I was getting really hungry, I guess I would eat them, and that would be the end of it. This is not something you could keep that is just going to keep regenerating itself in in an apocalyptic situation. I don't think a lot of people know that or consider that. So I want to make sure I told you the truth again. Again, do what works best for you. Do what you like, but I think I may cut back. But here is where I may add to the farm soon. So every single animal that you have seen us in terms of raising on the farm over the last, guys, we're going on a decade. Can you believe that? Every animal that you've seen in videos that we've raised, we still have, with the exception of pigs. I do want to get pigs again. I've held off on that. I'm trying to figure out how I want to set up for that. I'm trying to figure out which breed. And it is a thing of, I get emotionally attached. I didn't think that I would. Let me warn you, and a lot of you are going to be talking about this. Do not get emotionally attached to anything that you're going to be, putting in the freezer. And pigs are very unique in my case, in my situations, because I did get emotionally attached to my pigs. We had 2 sows, and we did take them to slaughter. And, you know, it really kind of took us a little bit to get over it. I mean, we did eat them. The meat was honestly, it's the best meat I've ever eaten in my life. Over any other, you can't compare a pork chop of a red wattle to any filet out there. I'm sorry, my opinion, yours could be different, but it is true. I mean, it's just incredible. So this is something I'm trying to kind of mentally grasp onto. I enjoy having pigs on the farm. I do see us getting some, but again, it's a commitment. So there's that. And then also, I'm going to tell you right now, and a lot of you were giving me a lot of good advice on this. And, you know, I'm a cat person. I love my dogs, but I'm a cat person. When I added these barn cats several months ago to the farm, I really honestly did not know that they would transform some things in such a positive way so quickly. So yes, we have Mr. Fritz, Miss Ginger, and little baby Faith. We call them brother and sister. They're brother and sister. Ginger's a whole separate little situation. She's kind of like the little mama cat. She's so sweet. But I'm going to add more barn cats. Since we added the barn cats, they're barn kittens. They're growing a little bit though. Since we've added them to our barn, we have seen only 1 snake. 1. And we have only seen 1 to 2 mice. It's like, even James is like, he even said, he said, maybe it's coincidence, maybe it is, but their presence has truly, seemingly spooked these creatures away. It just kind of spooked them off. They're kind of like, we're going to go down here. Now, when we lived at our other farm and we had Mr. Peaches as our active farm barn cat, and he was a stray that showed up. He's now in retirement, living in our house. He's doing great, doing great. He's a lot older now. So, you know, when we moved here, we made him more indoor. We have a lot of coyote and lots of coyote here, and we didn't want him to be snatched up if we just put him out. You can't just take an animal and just let him loose. It's a big acclimation period, and he ended up just acclimating to our house. And he actually kind of stresses out now when he goes outside. He wants to come back in. So he's in mothballs, okay? So, you know, we've added these new cats, but when Mr. Peaches was on the loose and on the prowl at the other place, we didn't have mice. We very rarely saw a snake, and we didn't have a rabbit problem. We really didn't. So it's interesting to see how we knew that, and then now that we've brought these new babies in here, we're starting to see the same effects as far as the little critters and the little varmints have decided, we'll bug the neighbor instead. It's not worth it. So I told James, I said, before we head into winter, now that the weather right now, you know, we're pushing into fall, and we've had a little bit of cool down, but overall the weather's still really warm. It might not be a bad idea to go ahead and add a few more barn kitties. Now, I'd have to acclimate them like I did my others. I've got the video on that, where we kept them in a large crate for over a month. They would only come out when I was in the barn, and then I would put them back because I didn't want them to get out and get snatched by a hawk, or, you know, I wanted them to get really used to where they were. It's kind of like working with feral cats, okay? And that has worked great. And I just want to say that if you're having any trouble with your farm or whatever like that, your little barn, and, you know, we got to keep our feed as critter, you know, we don't want varmints and rodents in our feed for our animals. These barn cats, I'm telling you right now, just kind of standing around acting cute, everybody wants to be a cat, right? Has really, so far, been the trick. So that's my thoughts right now in terms of what changes I'm not immediately, but are going into effect as of now for our farm. I just think these are good decisions right now. It's a good time to make these decisions. So going forward, I don't have to continue to stress about the budget. If I'm going to be putting my time and money towards something, you want it to be something that is really productive for you. And in our case, these are the things that aren't working so well versus what is really working great and would be a good idea to add. We appreciate you being here. Hope you're having a great weekend. The weather's beautiful. Keep working, you know. Winter is coming, right? I know. Enjoy it. All right, guys, we will see you on the next video. Like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate you being here all the time. And we'll see you on the next video.